Hi everybody, welcome to Bike Revs. I'm Mark. Now, a couple of weeks ago, me and two of my mates decided to go on a bit of a jaunt around Wales. The plan was we were going to do about 500 miles over 3 days, which isn't bad for a bunch of old men with creaky knees in the middle of winter. And we were going to visit Portmeirion and Anglesey and go around Snowdonia and see all the mountains and hillsides, which is a fabulous idea. The roads are wonderful. However, not long into the journey, things went a little bit wrong. So let me explain what happened. Well, we're about an hour into the journey and I was a little bit off the pace. Now, my two mates can ride a bit, that's for sure, and they weren't hanging about, but they were on dual sports. One was on an Africa Twin, one on a Triumph Tiger, and I'm on a speed triple, so it shouldn't be any problem at all to keep up. But as I say, I was really off the pace, and as I started to think about it more, the more I dropped back, and then I started to lose all confidence in the bike going into the corners. And in fact, I even started to wonder if the wheels had gone loose or I'd messed up with something with my home mechanics. Anyway, we carried on, and just short of 2 hours and 70 odd miles into the trip, we stopped at a service station called Crossgates in Wales. Now, if you've ever been into Wales, you've probably stopped there yourself. It's a really nice little place with a service station and a cafe and a great big car park. There's always loads of bikers there in the summer. Now, when I got off the bike, I looked at it and realised immediately that I had a puncture in the rear tyre. So we looked at it, we gave it a kick a few times and did what any three British guys would do on a trip. We went and had a cup of tea. And then when we came back from that cup of tea, we started to look at how to fix the puncture. Now, luckily, I always carry a puncture repair kit, even on this speed triple. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, where do you put all the stuff? And that's the point of this video. I'm going to explain to you exactly where I keep my puncture repair kit on a speed triple, because this, honestly, really saved my bacon on that trip. Okay, so there's not many places you can store things on this bike. It's not built for that sort of thing. There's a little bit of space under the seats. So the first thing we need to do is get under those seats. Right, I pull off this side panel, and under there, if we can get that off, is what I comically refer to as the Speed Triple toolkit. So I've got two, what is an Allen key, and a little star key there as well. And this is going to allow me to get into there and then undo the two bolts that get the seat off. So let's do that now and have a look at what's under there. Right then, it's worth making sure you've got the right tools for the job in your little toolkit, because sometimes the bolts that go in there get swapped out. I mean, this is an aftermarket seat that I bought on eBay, so that could be anything in there. Luckily, I already checked and this fits, so I've used the Torx part of this and managed to get the first part of the seat off. And then I'm going to undo the main seat as well. Right, you've probably already spotted some of it. Underneath the main seat, I keep these two tools. One is, I think I call it a rasp, which you use to get into where the puncture is, just to make the hole rough and to make it a proper hole so that you can get the plug in. And this thing they call the needle, which has got a hole at the end of it where you put the repair strip through, and then that allows you to push it in and make the repair, as I'll explain in a minute. Now, you'll notice I've wrapped both of these in tape because I put them in here under the seat. You have to play around a little bit, but there is space just to put those in there. But what I don't want is two pieces of metal rattling around under this seat, for obvious reasons, so I put insulating tape around them. Then I've got the bag, and I put that under here. Now, at this point, I should explain that I'm using an Oxford puncture repair kit. It costs £25. I think I got it from Sports Bike Shop. Now, before that, I used to have a very cheap set that I had on my Z900, and it was basically just the repair strips and the two tools. Now, when I did a video on that on my Z900, somebody rightly pointed out, well, what are you going to do in terms of pumping your tyre back up? And I thought, that's a good point. And then also, when I moved my kit from the old Z900 onto this bike, I realised that the tube of glue that comes with it had gone completely solid. So luckily, I got this one for Christmas, because if this puncture had happened at any point in the last 2 years, I don't think I would have been able to recover from it. Anyway, I've got that, and I've got a little plastic bag here as well. So this is my repair strips. Those are the thing that are actually going to plug the hole. You've probably all seen these before, and they fit nicely down inside there. Right, this is almost everything that comes with the Oxford puncture repair kit. I'm going to put these in my pocket because they keep blowing away. I've got the two tools that I've already mentioned with my insulating tape around them. This thing screws onto the valve of your wheel, it's actually that bit that screws onto your valve, and then you can take one of these canisters which is full of CO2, and that screws into there. You've got to screw it in quite hard to break the end of that as it goes in, and then you can open the valve and pump your tyre up, but not until you've fixed the actual puncture, obviously. So got the glue, and handily they also give you a little razor blade penknife which you can use to trim off the excess after you've done the job. So that's what you get, and that is everything that you need, and trust me, you do need all of that. Now, it originally came with 3 canisters, but I've used one, as I'll explain, and obviously it had a little bit more glue, and I've actually bought replacement glue for that because that's going to start going off in the tube now. So let me tell you exactly how I went about fixing that hole in the tyre. Now, I think it goes without saying that I didn't film this at the time because, well, quite frankly, I was in a bit of a flap. But what happened was, I wheeled the bike forward as my mate stood at the back and spotted where the puncture was, and you can see it just there. Now, it looked like the head of a nail that you might find in a floorboard. So we set about picking it out, and to do that we used this tool, which I'm not quite sure what it's called, but we got that in and picked it out. Turned out it wasn't a nail at all, it was a small stone that was shaped like a spearhead. I'll show you a picture of that. Once it was out, obviously the air was coming flying out of there, and we got this in, and we moved it in and out quite a few times just to get that hole nicely roughed up, ready and prepared to take the repair kit. You then put lots of glue around it, and we've got lots of glue in and around the hole as much as we could get in there, and then loaded up the other tool with a repair strip, and then it was simply a case of pushing that in, pulling it out sharply, and then trimming off the excess that was left out. You push it about 3/4 of the way in, pull it out, it leaves the plug in the tyre, and it works beautifully. I never thought it would be that easy, and that was it. So then we used the razor blade, cut it off, and we left with almost like a little mushroom there of repair strip. Of course, a few miles down the road, and it's all worn nice and smooth, and you can see it there. Now, since I've made that repair, I've done probably 500 or 600 miles on the bike, and I haven't lost a single PSI. So I'm really pleased with that repair. It works. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it did. So it's been brilliant. Now, let's talk about pumping the tyre back up. Now, after we'd performed that delicate tyre repair, I wheeled the bike over to the pump because, bear in mind, we had stopped at a place that was a service station, and there was one of these pumps. So I scanned my card, put like £2 on it, and started to try and blow up that rear tyre. Now, these new modern air vending machines that take your money and give you air have got all sorts of safety mechanisms built into them, so they won't give you any air unless there's a little bit of back pressure against them. I think it's to stop somebody like sticking their finger in the end of the pump or something and hurting themselves. I don't know what reasons behind it, but you've got to have some pressure in the tyre to start with, otherwise they don't work. And I found this out actually last time when I was changing my own tyres and I tried to use one to pump up a tyre from flat. So I had to get some pressure into this rear tyre, and that meant using this valve that I explained earlier and one of my gas canisters. So I put that onto the bike, and then I screwed that in, opened the valve, and the rear tyre immediately inflated and got its old shape back. Now, if you're wondering how much PSI one of those canisters will put into a tyre, well, my tyre is a 190 55 17, and that puts 4 PSI, from 0 to 4 PSI if you apply that to the tyre. I don't think that's enough to ride the bike. It'll probably give you enough to push it to the next service station, but that's all really. So you are going to need to carry more than one of those, just in case you're like I am and in the middle of absolutely nowhere. So that was my little tale. I've now done 500 odd miles on that repair. It's been brilliant. Jury's out now, and I'd be interested in the comments. Can I leave that patch in there, the one that I've done myself? It seems to be fine. It's not losing any air. Do I need to get it professionally repaired? Do I need a new tyre? Now, bearing in mind, I'm not a track monkey, so I'm not racing the bike or anything like that. If I was, I'd definitely replace the tyre. But I'm not. I'm just riding around on the roads. So personally, I think that'll probably do for now. But hey, what do you think? Do I need to get that repaired properly? Anyway, honestly, make sure you carry a puncture repair kit. And also, don't forget, keep your chains oiled. And I'll see you next time.